Hello everyone, my name is Nick from Tree Studio. Today I'm gonna share some useful tips of how to edit the wedding photos. Let's get started. As you can see, here is the interface of Adobe Lightroom Classic. And I have picked some photos to show you guys my workflow of editing the photos I took on a wedding day. After importing the photos into Lightroom, I would put the preset on them. Just simply choose the preset you like and apply it to the photos. Here I choose the preset 1. Please note that do not rely on the stock setting of the preset, as each photos would have a slightly different settings, so you will need to adjust the settings for each photos and figure out the most suitable settings. You can use copy and paste to copy the settings from one photo to another. So if you want to apply the same settings on more photos, you can select them all, then highlight the photo with the preset, then click Synchronize. The setting will be applied to all the photos you have chosen. So now you can see all the photos are applied with the preset. Once you start to edit photos, you need to analyze the key elements of the photos. Figure out the subject and know how you want the photo to be presented. Normally those objects in focus are the main things that the photographer intends to express from a photo. As you can see here in these photos, the cufflinks are the clearest object in the photos, so it would be the subject. After you find out the most important things in the photos, you can then analyze the light and the composition. In these photos, the light comes from the left, which gives you an idea that the left side of the photo is supposed to be brighter than the right side. So you need to consider this factor when adjusting the exposure. As the cufflinks are the subject, when adjusting the exposure, you need to make sure the brightness of it is correct. By saying correct, it means the exposure of the subject is not being either overexposure or underexposure, which won't make the photo look too bright or dark. By changing the exposure, you can see the brightness is changing from dark to bright. What you need to do, as I said before, is to keep the brightness of the subject on a certain level so that the audience can figure out the main things of the photos straight away when they look at the photos. Whatever is a ring, a bouquet, a people's face, or, in here, the cufflinks. So we make sure the cufflinks are in good exposure so you can easily figure out the letters on them. Normally, we will need to make the photos more vivid by turning up more contrast and vibrance, as the raw photos generally look gray and washed out. When you increase the contrast, the middle to dark image area becomes darker, and the middle to light image area becomes lighter. The image tone are inversely affected as you decrease the contrast. Depending on the style you want for each photos, adjust the contrast level to make the objects separate from each other, which shows the depth of the field. Adjust the highlights and shadows if you feel they are too strong or if you want to show more details of the object under the dark shadows or strong light. In these photos, try to keep the balance of showing the details on the black shirt. Meanwhile, ensure the wrinkles on the jackets won't disappear due to the heavy light. I won't adjust the black and white frequently, but if you want to increase or decrease the portion of white to black in the image, you will need to move those two sliders. Under the Presets panel, move the texture, clarity, and the haze sliders will affect the texture of the image. Adjust them to a certain level as your preference, so the photo won't look foggy or overly clear. For my camera, I prefer to reduce the texture to make the image more smooth. I won't adjust the tone curve and the color grading much, and always keep it original. Under the Detail panel, I prefer to increase the denoise or noise reduction level to reduce the noise of the image. Noise may occur due to the increase in the ISO level. It will reduce the quality and make the photo look grainy. Do not increase the noise reduction level too much, otherwise the image will lose some textures and detail. Normally, the Lightroom will automatically match the limb profile according to the embedded information of the photos to correct the optical distortion and vignetting. Depending on how you want the photo presents, you may manually adjust the level of them. The diffringe level can be adjusted under the lens correction panel as well. This can help you to get rid of the fringe color along the edges. If you want to correct those photos that have a distorted vertical or horizontal perspective, you can find the upper right option under the transform panel. Simply click the auto button, so the Lightroom will adjust the perspective for the image. You may still need to adjust the angle manually, just to make sure the photos look straight. Then we can work on color correction, which is the most important part of editing. In general, we only need to adjust the temperature and tint. Increasing the temp will make the image look warm, and decreasing will make it look cold. Move the tint slider to the left to add green to the photos, and move it to the right to add magenta. We will use this principle to adjust the overall color of the image. Similar to adjusting the brightness, when turning the color, always refer to the subject of the photos and ensure the color of the main object is correct. If you have no idea how to set the correct temp and tint, you can always specify a neutral area in these photos by using the white balance selector. You can find the white balance selector on the left to the temp and tint sliders. Move the white balance selectors into an area of the photos that should be the neutral light gray. In this photo, I choose this part of the jacket as it looks like the neutral area. As you can see, the temp and tint of the image are automatically set to a certain level, and the color of the photo is changed completely. Sometimes the color will be 40 corrected, so try several times until you find the correct or nearly correct white balance level. You may need to move the temp and tint manually sometimes, as the Lightroom is not able to correct the white balance sometimes. Especially for those photos taken during sunset time, you may want the image to look warmer in alignment with the ambient sunset environment, so you will need to move the temp slider to the right to add more yellow color. You can always copy the settings from one photo and paste it to another, but keep in mind that the setting of each photo need to be adjusted slightly to make sure the exposure and white balance is correct. If you find you cannot turn the color you want by barely adjusting the temp and tint, you will need to go to the HSL or the color panel. This part gives you more specific adjustments and the ability to adjust the color. Sometimes the HSL comes within certain settings when applying a preset, but you can still adjust each color to your preference. For these photos, I don't really like how the green look, and I want the green to look more warm, even slightly yellow. So I can adjust the hue of the green and move it to the left, which is the yellow. Apart from that, I decrease the saturation and luminance of green, so the green color in this image won't be obvious, as it is not the main things I want to present to the audience, and I actually want it to be less recognized. You can also use the spot removal tool to remove something you don't want to be in the photo. For example, you can find there are two people to the right of the white towel in this image. To remove them, simply click spot removal, and you can adjust the size of the tool radius size by scrolling the mouse wheel. After finding the desired radius size, select the area you want to remove, and the Lightroom will automatically remove the objects within that area. Sometimes you will need to adjust the sample area to make the healing area more natural. So let's finish editing those selected photos. summary, to add it to your wedding photos, import them to Lightroom and apply a preset for them. Always remember to analyze them before you start working. Then figure out the subject of the images, which will be the reference when adjusting the exposure and white balance of the photos. Correct the exposure and white balance of the image, and then depending on the style of the photos, you can adjust the other settings so the photo match your preference. So that's all my tips for you to edit your wedding photos. I'm Nick from Tree Studios. See you next time.